guys, it's Jasma and today we're making no knead bread. My family usually makes our own bread because we have a stand mixer and the kneading process is very simple for us, and the bread also comes out really nice and fresh. But for those people who don't have a stand mixer, they have to knead the dough by themselves by hand and it's usually really tiring. So some people just gives up baking bread because of that reason. So today, I'm going to show you how to make a no-knead bread with only 4 ingredients, and it's very simple to make because you basically just mix everything together, set it aside for it to rise, and you have bread. This also tastes very good. It's perfect for sandwiches because it's nice and plain, and it is also a very flexible dough because you could shape it into different shapes. You can make it into a bun, you could make it into a loaf, or you can make it into a French baguette. This is very nice and soft on the inside and nice and crispy on the outside, and you could also mix different kinds of things to it, like nuts or dried fruit. So let's get started. For the ingredients you will need, 3 cups of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast, you can use dry activated yeast or instant yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1½ cups of hot water about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Starting off in a big bowl, I'm going to mix together the dry ingredients. So here I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. You could also use whole wheat flour or bread flour. Now I have a 1/4 teaspoon of dry activate yeast. You could use that or instant yeast. And I also have 1 teaspoon of salt, and you want to dump these two on separate sides of the bowl because you do not want direct contact of these two things because the salt might deactivate the yeast. And just mix it all together. Now for the water, I'm using hot water today for about 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you're planning to rise this overnight, you could just use cold water. Using hot water makes it rise faster, so you'll only need to rise it for about 3 hours. So I'm just going to dump this right in. So I'm dumping in 1½ cups of hot water. The dough should be very sticky, so if it looks like it's not forming a dough, you should not add any excess flour. It's supposed to be very nice and sticky. So just mix it in with a spatula because this should not be as tough as a dough. My dough has come together. It's actually quite sticky. If it doesn't look like your dough is going to come together, you could use your hands to help it a little. You don't want to knead it, you just want the flour and the water to come together. So now I'm going to cover it and let it set for 3 hours for it to rise. On the countertop, you don't need to set it anywhere warm or you don't need to set it at the fridge. And if you are using cold water, you could just place it on the countertop overnight for it to rise. So just cover the dough and let it rise for 3 hours or overnight. For the last hour of the rising process, you want to start preheating your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit with a Dutch oven with the lid on in it. And you want to place the Dutch oven with the lid on in the oven and let it preheat with the oven while it's still cold. My oven takes about ½ an hour for it to reach 450 degrees Fahrenheit, but again, it really depends on what kind of oven you have. The dough has rised for 3 hours. It has definitely doubled in size. It has lots of bubbles on top, and when you wiggle it, it should move around easily. So you can already tell it's nice and wet, and when you poke it, it should be really sticky. So now we're going to turn this onto a cutting board. I have some more flour here, so I'm just going to generously dust the flour onto the cutting board because it will definitely stick. And this is about 2 to 3 tablespoons of flour. You don't want to add too much flour because that might change the consistency of the actual dough. So now I'm just going to flip this onto the cutting board. You can see there's lots of bubbles in the actual dough. you need a bench scraper, and we're just going to flip the dough over. And you might need to flour it if it's too sticky. I now have a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to place the dough right onto the parchment paper. So using the help of the bench scraper, just lift it, place it right on the center. And later on, we're going to place this into the Dutch oven with the parchment paper. I just took the Dutch oven right out of the oven, and you want to make sure you use oven mitts because this is extremely hot right now. So if you need a parent help or an adult's help, make sure you ask for it because it's heavy and it's hot and you don't want to burn yourself. I have placed my bread dough into the Dutch oven with the parchment paper. And when you're putting it in, you want to make sure you're also wearing oven mitts because, again, the pot is very hot and you don't want to burn yourself. Now, we're going to bake the bread at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. And when it's done, we're going to take off the lid, put it back in the oven, and bake it for another 15 minutes, and then the bread is done. It's been half an hour, the bread is pretty much ready, and when you take it out of the oven, you want to be really fast because it is extremely hot. So now let's open it and see what it looks like. And again, you want to be really fast because it's very hot. You can see it has definitely puffed up. It is nice and golden brown on top. Now we're going to place this into the oven for another 15 minutes without the lid on for it to brown a little more. My bread has baked for the final 15 minutes. It is nice and golden brown on top, and it is really crispy, but it will be nice and soft on the inside, so you don't have to worry about it being too hard. And baking it with a piece of parchment paper on the bottom makes it easier to take out of the pot, and it also makes sure you don't burn yourself. So now we're going to let it cool for at least 10 minutes before we slice into it. The bread has cooled. You can see the bottom is also nice and hard, and it makes a really crispy noise when you sort of press it, and now we're ready to slice it. You can see it's very nice and soft on the inside. That's how you make no-knead bread, a very simple recipe to make that is also very delicious. This takes no time to make because the preparation really takes less than 10 minutes. It does take quite a bit of time to rise and cook, but you could prepare the dough the night before and bake it in the morning, or you could prepare the dough in the morning and bake it in the afternoon or the night. But either way, you'll have very delicious bread. This smells really good when it comes out of the oven, and it contains no fat whatsoever. There's no oil, there's no butter. And you don't even need to grease the pan because we did use parchment paper. But the one cautionary note is that you need to make sure you don't burn yourself when you're taking the Dutch oven out of the oven. And in the future on my channel, I will be showing you how to make this no-knead bread without a Dutch oven. I really suggest you to eat this fresh when it's nice and warm, but of course you could eat it when it's cold. It goes good with any kind of topping. You could put butter, you could put cream cheese, you could put it in a sandwich. But either way, this is a very delicious, very simple no-knead bread to make. So thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye!